Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestle News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there's a ton of news stories to get into today. So let's talk some WWE and let's talk about tonight's edition of Friday Night SmackDown. What a main event. Seemingly out of nowhere. The main event we were expecting for Hell in a Cell on Sunday, the Universal Championship match inside Hell in a Cell between Roman Reigns and Rey Mysterio. Instead of taking place Sunday, it's taking place tonight on SmackDown on Fox on free television. Which seemingly came out of nowhere, but last night this big development happened on social media because WWE has officially announced that the Hell in a Cell match between Rey Mysterio and the Universal Champion Roman Reigns will now be happening on Friday Night SmackDown instead of Sunday's Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. Now, it was Mysterio who really started this all off. He took to Twitter last night to write that he wanted to have the match tonight on SmackDown. The SmackDown Tag Team Champion tweeted, "It's eating me up inside. I can't wait any longer. I want the Hell in a Cell match tomorrow night," meaning tonight on SmackDown. And then he tweeted Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman. Well, Roman Reigns responded saying, "Sunday, Friday, any day, makes no difference to me. It will be my pleasure to disgrace what's left of your family name tomorrow night inside Hell in a Cell. My special counsel, Paul Heyman, will handle the paperwork. I'll personally handle the warfare." So there you go. Reigns versus Rey Mysterio is happening tonight instead of Sunday. Now, I was quite surprised, as everyone was. I was surprised to see this announcement, but I'm not going to criticize WWE. I'm not going to be one of those people because I shouldn't be surprised anymore with social media, to be honest. I mean, shame on me, right? Maybe shame on me for being surprised at people overreacting on social media. That's kind of just what social media does in general in terms of overreaction. But let's face it here. Okay, WWE, look, they don't do long-term story planning. Anyone that can try and argue that fact is just nonsense. They don't. They do week to week. Maybe. They go day to day, but certainly they have things at least a few days planned out in advance. Obviously, the decision was probably made last night. If I'm trying to know my WWE insider, how things work there, and I don't have scoops, we're not a scoopster here, but in terms of knowing how things work in terms of WWE, obviously the decision was made probably last night. WWE creative team, when they're mapping out SmackDown and Hell in a Cell on Sunday, they probably decided, you know what, we want to do something different. We're going to do something different. So by doing that, obviously the decision was made, okay, let's move Reigns and Mysterio to Friday because we've got something planned for Sunday. I'm not going to be one of those people, and I've seen quite a lot of this over the course of the last 24 hours or so. Certainly when you scroll down, and maybe this is a bit of a tip, guys. When you see these announcements, just don't bother scrolling down because some of the comments you'll see just they baffle me, absolutely baffle me, because some of the reaction was, wasting us on free television. He's just going to bury Rey Mysterio. What? He's the Universal Champion, Roman Reigns. On what universe should Rey Mysterio be winning the Universal Championship on Sunday? I know it's Father's Day, but come on. I mean, what reality? What reality are you living in if you think that's the case? And the people that are saying, I can't believe they're wasting it. I can't believe they're wasting this match on free television. When are you complaining about getting something for free? Hell in a Cell match, free television. There's never been a Hell in a Cell match on SmackDown. That's a big reason. I mean, I think this is the first Hell in a Cell match on free television since 1998, right? And I think that was that the Brothers of Destruction versus Steve Austin and Mankind, I think that was. Or certainly there was Kane and Mankind tag team. Was that Kane and Mankind versus The Undertaker and Steve Austin? It was a long time ago, in fairness. There was two that year, I recall. There was one that wasn't really one, but the one that was actually a Hell in a Cell match. Either way, it's the first one, I think, on television since 1998. That's a big deal. And the first one on SmackDown, and Lord knows Fox will be happy with that. A big number on Fox. We've spoken about this recently when we've been covering SmackDown and the WWE news. I said that I think last week's number was something like 1.8. I think it was still under 2 million. And Fox will be saying, come on, let's get it back up to close to that 2 million mark before you start going on the road. WWE is full of excuses at the moment. Wait until July. Wait until live fans return. Or wait until SummerSlam. Wait until August. Wait until we're in that big stadium. Wait until Cena's back. Wait until Edge is back. Then the numbers are going to go up, so don't worry about now. I think Fox would probably look at it and say, look, actually, can we get the numbers back up, please? Now, I'm not saying that WWE bumped the match for that very reason of we just need to get the numbers up. But, I mean, if anything, they probably looked at Hell in a Cell and goes, does it really matter? I mean, the event feels very forgetful anyway. People are already looking at July. People are already looking at August for SummerSlam. People are already looking for when WWE goes back to touring. So maybe they've just decided, WWE, you know what? Sunday doesn't matter anyway. Reigns is going to win anyway. There was no doubt Mysterio was going to win. So Reigns is going to win anyway on Sunday. Why don't we just do it on SmackDown? We'll do a good number. People will say how successful Fox is, and we can put something else on there Sunday. And maybe plans have changed. Again, I'm not going to be one of these people that just says this and criticizes it straight away, because let's see how it plays out. I think we can give WWE at least that. I mean, I know their track record might not be great, and I know that WWE, in terms of their creative process, might not be that great. Lord knows we saw Alexa Bliss and that whole mess on Monday Night Raw, and we have Lily and Shayna Baszler and a stuffed doll and all that craziness going on Raw, and that show is a dumpster fire of a disaster of a show. But in fairness, SmackDown's been pretty good most of the time, right? In this Roman Reigns era of SmackDown, the Roman Reigns show of what it is, it's a pretty good show. So I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt here. I'm willing to say, look, let's see how this plays out. Let's see how this event goes tonight on SmackDown. Let's see how this Hell in a Cell match goes on SmackDown tonight, and let's see what they have in store for Sunday, because I still think Reigns probably competes on Sunday. It's still a pay-per-view event. It's still a major event. So just obviously plans maybe have changed. Maybe you have the Hell in a Cell match tonight between Reigns and Mysterio. Maybe he just completely beats the hell out of Rey Mysterio and then says, you, points to Dominic, the kid, and says, your dad's not wrestling me now on Sunday. You are. Dominic Mysterio gets a Universal Championship match. They try and sell it off this David versus Goliath story. He's trying to avenge his father on Father's Day inside Hell in a Cell. And Reigns just absolutely decimates the guy on Sunday as well. And then maybe you have Jimmy Uso coming, and it's kind of a flashback to what happened with Jey Uso last time at Hell in a Cell. And he's trying to say, look, stop it, stop it. Like, they could do stuff like that. They could do stuff like that. I'm willing to let this one play out. I'm willing to let them see what they're capable of, see what they've come up with. They've obviously come up with some kind of different direction that they're going in. So I'm willing to let this one play out. Let's see what happens first. If it's bad, which it won't be, the match will be very good tonight if it's given time, which it should be. I mean, it's a Hell in a Cell match. You block out 45 minutes of programming for that one. They did it Monday night on Raw for a singles match into a six-man tag. They could certainly block out 45 minutes of television for this Hell in a Cell match, you would think, including commercial breaks, right? Surely they would do that. So the match quality shouldn't be in question at all. I think what's up for debate now is the creative for Sunday, but that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing going into the go-home show going, I wonder what they're going to do. I wonder what they're going to do for Sunday. That's the intrigue. So I'm not going to overly criticize this one like I've seen some people have, because let's give them the benefit of the doubt here. Let's see what happens. I'm excited for it. It's very exciting. New sets are on the horizon. Now, we spoke about this previously. This was a report, I think Andrew Zarian first reported this of the McMahon podcast, but it's been confirmed that WWE will have new sets and stages for Raw and SmackDown, and they've already started work on the SummerSlam event set as well. Of course, that's taking place in August. Now, lead WWE production designer Jason Robinson recently spoke with Edward Douglas of Below the Line and commented that they are building new sets and new staging. It was recently reported that new sets were in the works, and Raw and SmackDown will have their own unique looks, thank God. Robinson commented on the upcoming return to touring, which begins on July 16 with a live SmackDown in Houston, and how AR, augmented reality, will be used for the graphics on the new sets. He said, quote, we're heading out on the road come July 16. We're coming out in Houston, Texas on SmackDown. Then we're headed right into our pay-per-view Money in the Bank, which is one of our favorite pay-per-views of the year. Lots of ladders and with a briefcase hanging over the ring. So we have 2 Money in the Bank briefcases and on to Dallas, and then we're not looking back. We're headed forward, so we're looking at new sets, new staging that we're building. My next phone call is to the graphics department, talking about augmented reality and how AR is going to interface with our sets, and how we're going to make some really cool graphics for set entrances as our superstars enter. Now, Robinson also revealed that they are planning a big structure for the roof of Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, which of course is the location for the SummerSlam pay-per-view on August 21st. Allegiant does not have a retractable roof, but it does allow for an outdoor setting with its special roof and doors. He said, quote, I think it was just announced this past weekend on NBC that we're having SummerSlam in Las Vegas on August 21st, and man, that is going to be huge. It's going to be our first SummerSlam in a stadium since Wembley years and years ago in 1992. The next phone call after that, we're going to talk about the roof structure that we're going to put in at Allegiant Stadium. So there's the confirmation. It's the confirmation, as I mentioned before, that's been widely put out there, that new sets, graphics, and staging was going to come with the return to touring, which is to be expected, and it's a good thing, because it should be. We should have new sets, because this whole thing is just a refresh. I mean, it's a chapter. Look, those sets, I enjoyed those sets, actually. I wasn't a massive fan of the Raw one, if I'm going to be honest. I wasn't a massive fan of the skateboard set that we had on Monday Night Raw. Didn't mind the SmackDown one. In fairness, I liked the SmackDown one. It kind of, with the backlash, what do you call it, pincers that were kind of on the outside there. I thought it looked good. Unfortunately, didn't see a lot of it because it came in at the end of 2019, and then by March of 2020, we were in the Performance Center. So we didn't see those sets many times, and they will just be those short sets that were a casualty of the pandemic, unfortunately. But everything needs a reset. Everything needs a reset, and I know WWE, as I mentioned, they're using that as an excuse, certainly for ratings, but everything needs a reset at this point, whether it is the staging, whether it's the graphics, whether it's the music, whether it's the rosters, as we're getting with the draft coming up. Ultimately, though, the reset isn't enough. The reset, having new staging, having new Titantrons, having new sets, having new entrance themes, having new whatever, isn't enough to fix, when it comes to Raw, what is a bad show. There needs to be a massive overhaul for that show. SmackDown's fine. SmackDown exists, and it's a pleasurable show to watch most weeks. It's watchable. Raw, though, take away the 3 hours, take away some of just the bizarre segments, the bizarre creative, some of the bizarre characters, all that kind of stuff, but we do have a confirmation now that we are going to see new sets, and I'm a sucker for new sets, I must be said. I wish they would go back to having custom sets for pay-per-views. I don't know if they will going forward. I miss that. I miss going into Money in the Bank and having a custom Money in the Bank set. I miss going into Judgment Day and having a custom Judgment Day set, a Great American Bash set, or a Backlash set. I spoke about the Backlash pincers there. Because they had custom sets, they meant something. When you bought that pay-per-view, you were buying something different to what you would see Mondays or Friday nights. And sometimes it doesn't feel like that anymore. It just feels one big continuation of the same show. And it shouldn't feel like that. Events should be memorable for a variety of reasons. For the matches, for the outcomes, for the finishes, but also for the sets and for the venues and for the crowds. And sometimes it feels like WWE and they got lazy. And they do this sometimes. We're not going to do pyro anymore. Then they bring it back because people like pyro. We're not going to do custom sets anymore. It's too expensive. Then they bring them back. And it's like, you know what I mean? You can do different stuff. You should have custom sets. You should make your shows feel special. And sometimes it feels like WWE does the bare minimum. And hopefully they move back to a point where they're not doing that anymore. I mean, I really hope so. I really do. Crossover time for WWE. This is interesting, because WrestleVotes previously reported that WWE was looking to utilize more theme shows. We spoke about this yesterday, like Old School Raw, King of the Ring, Viewer's Choice, Cyber Sunday, and the like in the future. And Andrew Zarian of the McMahon podcast also mentioned that Raw Roulette is pretty much a lock to happen at some point this year as well. While Fightful Select, which of course is Fightful's Patreon service, be sure to check that out, they have learned that Fox and USA Network / NBC Universal were a big part of the push for this to happen, and there are several other NBC Sports integrated pitches that are being made to WWE right now. Now, among those are tie-ins with NASCAR, contingent around a major race that integrate race cars and star drivers. Another pitch included NFL nights for the launch of Sunday Night Football, with football-themed matches and angles and NFL players and commentators around. There was also a Wrestling World Cup pitch, which is, of course, pretty self-explanatory. They kind of did that with Crown Jewel, which Shane McMahon won in the end. Lord knows that led to some fun, didn't it? That would include all brands. Another pitch that NBC has made is a points month, where wins, signature moves, and other things rack up points of wrestlers. I would love it. I would love it if NBC Universal forced WWE to do a points month where wins and losses truly matter. They couldn't do it. I just don't think they could do that at that point. Their head would explode. Wins and losses matter. You would find it at the end of points month that everyone, shockingly, is on the same amount of points because it's 50-50 booking all the time. The only person that would win points month is Roman Reigns. He hasn't lost since he came back in August last year, which he shouldn't have, because that's how you book top talent. That's how you get talent over. That's how you make talent mean something. That's how you sell tickets. That's how you sell pay-per-views. That's how you sell all of these things. But if they did a points month, I just don't think they could do it. I think their booking philosophy would explode. Their booking head would explode. They would be like, wait a minute, what wins and losses have to matter? What point counts for a no contest? What point counts for a double disqualification or a count out or a DQ or a distraction roll-up? All of this kind of stuff. Signature moves, oh, that doesn't happen. We do distraction roll-ups. We do non-finishes. We do no contests. Their heads would explode. I would be fascinated, absolutely fascinated, to see if they actually genuinely tried to do a points month on WWE television, because the booking philosophy just doesn't adhere to that. It just doesn't. They would lose their ever-loving minds to have to do that. They would. Everyone would be on the same amount of points unless Roman Reigns. That would literally be it. But it's interesting. Very interesting story. Now, if you've watched any of my videos before, I have recently spoken, and especially when I've been talking about Monday Night Raw. I even did it, I think it was a video earlier this week. I said, what is the fascination with Reginald? There is something going on with Reginald. Obviously, someone in WWE is a huge proponent of this guy and has a weird, bizarre fascination with this guy because this guy is one of the most booked guys on WWE television, especially in the women's division, which is so odd. The biggest star, or the guy that's booked the most, featured the most in the women's division, isn't even a female. It's Reginald, a non-wrestler who's a man. What? Why? Well, I asked time and time again, what is the fascination with this guy? Why is he so featured? Well, it's because Vince McMahon, he's the guy that's got the obsession with him. Vince McMahon is a big proponent of the Reginald character. This is another report from Fightful Select, just another reason to subscribe to them, by the way, who say if you've been enjoying Reginald on WWE programming, I haven't, but if you have, you're not alone apparently, because Fightful is reporting they have been told that Vince McMahon himself, the WWE chairman and CEO, is a big fan of Reginald, from his presentation and delivery to his skill set in the ring for what he's been doing. Those in the company have said that Reginald has been easy to work with and has been very open to pitches given to him. But of course he's easy to work with. He's very new there. On top of that, he's been featured on television over and over again in big feuds with Sasha Banks, Alexa Bliss, Shayna Baszler, Carmella, Bianca Belair. Of course he would be receptive and easy to work with. I bet he can't believe his luck. He wasn't even in NXT and suddenly he's heavily featured on television and Vince McMahon thinks he's amazing. Of course he's going to be easy to work with. Again, I'm not saying he's a bad guy because I don't know the guy. I'm just saying I find it odd. And it does make you question. WWE likes to be so progressive, don't they, when it comes to the women's evolution? Oh, we've been a big proponent of women's wrestling, and they have been. You know, they've got. I'm not going to go into the Evolution pay-per-view. Lord knows I spent enough breath on that last week. But you know, you look at the last few WrestleMania main events, right? 2 out of the last 3 WrestleMania main events, or I guess 4, have been headlined by female competitors. That's great. WWE is progressive in that sense, but also they do fall back into the tropes of the 1990s and the mid-2000s when they have one of the featured people in the women's division be a male non-wrestler. That doesn't seem right. Or they fall back into one of the female performers, her character or their gimmick. They've done it time and time again. Mandy Rose, Carmella, Emelina. It's got to be all about beauty. Even with Eva Marie, it's all about beauty. I'm so beautiful. And the way of getting heat or making a promo series between 2 female competitors is by calling one a bitch. They always do that, and it's a trope that I hate because it feels like it just immediately it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, because you go, you don't need to do that. You don't need to do that. But now we know, the guy I mentioned it before, who's obsessed with Reginald? It's Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon's the one obsessed with Reginald. Go figures. Roman Reigns, of course, is rumored to be facing John Cena at SummerSlam. One of the worst kept secrets, I guess, in pro wrestling right now. Well, Roman Reigns appeared on the ACC network, and he was asked about a variety of topics, including working in the Thunderdome, working throughout the pandemic, leaving WWE, going on hiatus, coming back. He also spoke about facing John Cena at SummerSlam. Of course, there are rumors swirling that Reigns will be facing the WWE legend turned movie star at SummerSlam, and Reigns welcomes the challenge as long as Cena is ready to get smashed. He said, quote, "If John wants to get smashed, he knows where I'm at. When it comes to whooping people's asses, I do not discriminate. Luchadors, mat wrestlers, legends, Hollywood superstars, anybody can get it." So Roman Reigns, we've seen this a lot. And the reason that, Cena's been asked about it now, Roman Reigns has been asked about it now, is because, as I mentioned, it's one of the worst kept secrets in WWE, certainly pro wrestling at this point, that the main event of SummerSlam this year is Roman Reigns versus John Cena for the Universal Championship. I don't have an issue, frankly, with it being out there because it already builds the hype. I wouldn't even be surprised, and I don't really want to be, big conspiracy people, all information, it was purposely leaked, all that kind of stuff. It does happen, though. My reaction to it, to be honest, would be WWE probably wants Reigns versus Cena getting out there. The reason why is because the pre-sale for SummerSlam has just started, by the way. Now, SummerSlam is probably going to sell out regardless because it's a stadium show, it's a big show, all that kind of stuff. It's probably going to sell out irrespective of the card. The card's almost irrelevant at this point, but the fact that, people know if you buy a ticket to SummerSlam, you're probably going to see Roman Reigns versus John Cena. The fact that that's already come out there, again, I would argue that maybe WWE have already, put that out there to some people to say, look, buy a ticket to SummerSlam because you're going to see a really historic matchup. Not first time ever, but arguably, whether The Rock versus Roman Reigns could even happen at this point, but it's arguably the biggest match WWE can do right now. The biggest match WWE can do right now is Roman Reigns, John Cena, Universal Championship. Inside a stadium, you can't look at the people available to WWE, all that kind of stuff. You can't look at a bigger match right now than Cena versus Reigns, the two faces of their respective generations. It's big. It's a really big match. WWE knows that. So having these questions being asked at all of these interviews, whether it's Reigns, whether it's Cena, whether it's whoever, there's a reason and a logic behind that. They've got to sell tickets for this. So it makes sense. It totally makes sense to me. Mick Foley is on the Broken Skull Sessions this coming weekend. Now, obviously, the right time for him to be doing an episode with Steve Austin, of course, because it's Hell in a Cell on Sunday. So this is the one that is going to be debuting on the WWE Network on Sunday. And he had some interesting things to say. Now, they do these things, Steve Austin, where he does like a rapid-fire round. He does a clip of... it's usually done to hype things up. So usually it's like word association, all that kind of stuff. And he did a load of word associations with Mick Foley, asked about Sami Zayn, Drew McIntyre, Bobby Lashley, Bianca Belair, The Fiend, Bray Wyatt, Alexa Bliss, Rhea Ripley. He was also asked about Cesaro, and this is very interesting as to what Mick Foley said about Cesaro. He said, quote, "Can I talk to the camera? Vince, please. You," talking about Steve Austin, "started in 88 or 89, 60 years of experience. We know a little something. We both proved Vince wrong, right? He had set us for this level, and I'd say we exceeded that level. Trust us and give him the chance. Let him prove. I'll get down on my knees," he did, "and I'll beg. Vince, please. All we're saying is give Cesaro a chance. I just believe in that guy wholeheartedly. Give him a chance." Now, a lot of people... kind of mocked Foley for this, I suppose, saying, "I can't believe he got down on his knees and all this kind of stuff. What a mark," and all this kind of stuff. You have to remember, when it comes to people like Mick Foley and Steve Austin, at the end of the day, they got into pro wrestling because they're fans. They're fans of pro wrestling. That's why they became pro wrestlers in the first place, because they're fans. Mick Foley, for better or for worse, he's a fan of pro wrestling, and he's done this several times. He smashed TV screens in response to Daniel Bryan not getting title opportunities and all that kind of stuff. So Mick Foley is a fan at the end of the day. Now, one could argue, I think Cesaro's probably right now getting the biggest push of his WWE career. Frankly, I mean, people say, well, when he won the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal at WrestleMania, was paired with Paul Heyman, that went nowhere in a hurry. Now he just had a singles match at WrestleMania where he beat Seth Rollins, former WWE World Heavyweight Champion and Universal Champion Seth Rollins. He just had a Universal Championship match against Roman Reigns that went over 30 minutes. That's a big deal. I mean, he is getting pushed right now. I mean, one could argue he's still in the feud with Seth Rollins. I don't know how long that will go on for, but he's in a major program right now with Seth Rollins. He was in a major program with Roman Reigns. He's getting the biggest push of his WWE career. Is Cesaro ever going to become a Universal Champion? Certainly not in the foreseeable future, because that spots Roman Reigns. Go to Monday Night Raw, who knows what could happen there. But, I mean, I would want to see Cesaro get... I just say get a push, but he is. He is right now. Maybe this was Phil before all of that. I don't know. But I struggle to see how he's not getting pushed at the moment. He won at WrestleMania. He's feuding with Seth Rollins. He feuded with Roman Reigns. They're two of the biggest stars on SmackDown. There's an argument to be made, looking at that SmackDown brand right now, Cesaro is arguably one of the biggest baby faces on that show. He is. So he is getting pushed. So maybe that's where it's coming from. I don't know. I think more people are saying, I can't believe he got on his knees, all this kind of stuff. Let him do what he wants. Stephanie McMahon has spoken about SummerSlam. Of course, SummerSlam on the horizon in August. WWE, as I mentioned previously, is seeing strong ticket sales for SummerSlam as this upcoming return to touring. Now, it was recently reported that some of the ticket sales were slow, but Chief Brand Officer Stephanie McMahon spoke to Yahoo Finance Live this week and indicated otherwise. She said, quote, "This is funny because you see Dave Meltzer come out saying, ticket sales suck." And she comes up to Yahoo Finance Live and says, "Ticket sales are looking great. We're currently on sale with about 26 different events, and of course, SummerSlam goes on sale this Friday. Very important, August 21 from Allegiant Stadium, which is Radius Stadium in Vegas. We're so excited, and we have seen excellent results so far. We're definitely tracking way ahead of where we were actually last time we were in the market for these events, so we feel pretty good about it." With SummerSlam being for August 21st, she was asked about a possible return to the ring. She said, "I think ever since Ronda Rousey broke my arm, I have a little PTSD, so I'm not sure if you're going to see me in the ring anytime soon, but I guarantee for SummerSlam there's going to be a lot of surprises." She was also asked about the recent corporate restructuring and the cuts made to the talent roster. She noted that the restructuring reflects WWE's desire to run a more efficient, better business coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic. She said, quote, well, I think like a lot of media companies, we're in the process of transition and evolution. And when you consider the fact we've had 3 different media teams really doing a lot of the same work, we realized there was a lot of duplication and inefficiency. So it's really just being more prudent business people and looking at our business in a different way. So she kind of confirms there what those reports said, that Nick Khan and some others basically came in and went, wait a minute, there is a lot of duplication there, and that is business. I don't have an issue with that at all. I'm not going to be one of those people that criticizes WWE for that. I mean, I hate to see people lose their job, especially hardworking, talented people lose their job. Unfortunately, that's business, and WWE is a publicly traded corporate juggernaut. So if they find any way of making money, they're going to do it. When it comes to surprises for SummerSlam, that's the company line. I'm sure there will be surprises for SummerSlam. We've seen reports that actually confirm that. When it comes to what she said there, ticket sales are looking good for SummerSlam. I mean, the pre-sale was very good, and obviously, as I mentioned, ticket sales go on sale. Was it this Friday? They go on sale today or whatever. They are going to do great. It's a big stadium show. It's this year's WrestleMania, so I have no doubt ticket sales look strong for SummerSlam. It's those live events and in those cities where things are a bit slow. That's going to be the indication, but time will tell. Time will tell. Stephanie McMahon's hardly going to go on a Yahoo Finance show and say ticket sales suck. Please come. She's the chief brand officer. It's her job to make the WWE brand look great and lucrative. So she's, of course, got to come out and say, look, ticket sales are great. So I don't really see much in that. An interesting story about the WWE releases recently. Of course, WWE's released a bunch of talent this year, and a lot of them will inevitably end up in AEW, New Japan, Ring of Honor, Impact Wrestling. However, one of the biggest issues, of course, for talent when they are released by WWE is this 90-day non-compete clause. Now, most fans are familiar with this, and this basically means they can't sign or actually appear on any programming, a pro wrestling programming, 90 days after their contract has been terminated. Wow, certainly something very interesting from a report from Fightful, because Fightful are reporting that many WWE releases have recently asked to forego this recent 90-day non-compete clause, which is certainly very interesting. Essentially, they have gone to WWE and asked them, can we maybe get rid of this 90-day non-compete clause? What can we do about this? Now, certain people like Andrade, they didn't have a 90-day non-compete clause, hence why they can sign with AEW now. Now, this is the report from Fightful. They have learned that multiple 2021 releases have asked WWE if they can forego their non-compete clauses, anywhere ranging from the entire duration to just a few days before their scheduled non-compete clauses expire. So some people have asked, look, instead of 90, can you do 80? Can you do this? Can you do that? Now, reportedly, according to Fightful, WWE is said to be receptive to this, with John Laurinaitis being the general point of contact for wrestlers to get this approved. Now, we haven't heard yet if wrestlers will still be paid for that period, or in the case of a few days, but WWE seems to be more lenient than ever before about inquiries regarding the non-compete clauses. Now, they're still working to get confirmation on some of the names that have requested this. Now, again, I think this might be a situation whereby, they want to get on a certain show. As far as I'm aware, look, the ones in April, it doesn't matter. If they want to show up for Slammiversary or whatever, they still will by the end of their 90-day non-compete clause. It doesn't matter. When it comes to All Out, I still think their contracts expire. The 90 days do expire before All Out, if I'm correct. If not, that might be what they're looking for. I don't know. WWE's reasoning for releasing these guys in the first place was all about budget cuts, right? It's all about budget cuts. Oh, it's all about budget cuts. If a talent went to WWE and said, look, you don't have to pay me for 90 days, pay me for 70 and I'll happily forego the money, surely it would be in WWE's best interest to get them off the books even quicker, right? Right? Because if not, then it's not about budget cuts. It's about something else. So I don't know. Time will only tell with that one. I find it very difficult to believe that WWE will be actively willing to help out their competition by making certain talents available for certain shows. I just don't know if I can necessarily see that. Finally, WWE President Nick Khan has been doing the rounds once again, and he has spoken about why WWE selected to choose Las Vegas for the destination for SummerSlam this year. The WWE president had to say, quote, "We know how bad the pandemic hit Las Vegas and the economy there. One of the thoughts we had was to have one of our signature events, SummerSlam, at Allegiant. I don't believe they have been full fans there yet. We thought a big sellout crowd in Vegas to help stimulate the economy would be the right thing to do with the city." I hear that and I just go, oh yeah, that's what WWE really wanted to do. They were like, we could just hold Vegas in an arena somewhere. But I tell you what, we really want to help out Las Vegas. We really want to stimulate that local economy. Do me a favor. They want to make money. That's got nothing to do with helping out Vegas. They saw a big stadium. They want to fill it up. I don't think they could care less about the local Vegas economy. That's what they probably said, pitching it to the locals in Vegas and the people at Allegiant Stadium. Look how much money we can make you. WWE makes a lot of money for the local economy when they do WrestleManias and such. But I don't think that was high in their thinking process. Oh, yeah, we really want to make loads of money for Vegas. Oh, come on. Now, he gave a similar information in an interview with News 3 in Vegas. He said, quote, "There's so much money and commerce flowing through Las Vegas, an event like ours, it only made sense to have it there. We believe Las Vegas is a working class hard type of town. People work hard, they play hard. To have an event to help re-jump start this economy and get people back going, to put smiles on people's faces, that's what we do, and we're happy to have it there." It's corporate line. I'm sure it's probably something like I said, they said to the local people in Vegas to sell them the event. I don't know. But Nick Khan doing more media is very interesting nevertheless. Look, guys, as always, this is just one man's opinion. What are your thoughts on all of these WWE news stories we've spoken about today? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll do my best to respond and reply to all of your comments. Really enjoy interacting with you guys, talking about WWE, AEW, Impact Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, all things pro wrestling here on the channel. So be sure to get involved in the community. Drop a comment below. All opinions are welcome. If you have enjoyed this video, please do smash a like on the like button too. Really does help us out here on YouTube. Go up the rankings and get into people's recommendation feeds if they haven't seen our videos previously. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to Wrestle News 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right corner of the screen right now, or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video along with another video for you to watch. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or have you come across this video today, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.